What is up, everyone? Blade here, and welcome back to another video of Persona 5 The Phantom X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the two characters that are coming out very soon, being Yukari as well as Akihiko, with both of these getting introduced tomorrow inside of the stream. So if you guys are just sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get ahead and get to talking about it. Now, every now and again, you're going to see a little bit of gameplay in the background, who knows, but like, I'm really just doing some small farming for my daily stamina. But as I did say beforehand, we have Akihiko and Yukari who are coming in the next updates. Now, this is something, of course, we already knew they were going to be coming around here, and a lot of people were already going to be pulling, but what we weren't noticeable, or at least noticeable about, was how quickly both of them were going to be dropping at the same time, pretty much. Now, there is in between some time period, like a week or so, that they're going to end up dropping. But for what we do know, they are going to still have their patches, which is always great. So pretty much, so what we can see is both Akihiko and Yukari in their own time respective manners are going to be here. And we have Yukari being in 4.2 with Akihiko being in 4.3. Now, this is mainly just because they're trying to line up the dates properly for the huge anniversary banner that is going to end up coming out as well. And this was something that we kind of expected, but at the same time, we weren't too confirmed about. Now that they've actually confirmed when and what's happening here, we know that this is going to be very interesting, and the characters themselves are going to be pretty cool themselves as well. So first things first, we're going to talk about at least our girl Yukari. Now, Yukari herself is a healer that also is pretty helpful with some buffs here that I do think is pretty darn good. She helps out with 3rd bar feelings. She's pretty much the core of the C side of things. But the thing for her is she's a character that, in my aspect, and one that I actually do value pretty highly, is not fully necessary for C's. Now, she does have her usage, right? There are teams that when you first, of course, get them, she's going to be very helpful in. As you can see, she was used at a certain point for Makoto, and she was used at a certain point for Akihiko. She pretty much just made it so when you get her, she could fill up your 3rd bar, and that was mainly her hardcore takeaway. You also were able to take down your party's damage taken, which was also pretty darn nice, while increasing your main person's attack, which is always good. But this came to be seen as not as much needed, because as Makoto kept going on, his team slowly evolved and she just got moved out. Same could be said for Akihiko. As time moved on, Akihiko started not to use her, and she became one of that character who's in limbo until recently inside of the the newer patches, where we got level 100 for her. She's now starting to carve her way with her level 100 Mindscape cores, which this is not going to be pertaining to global itself, but this is what she ended up getting. Obviously, some extra things that are at least helping her out even more so, increasing critical effects and stuff like that, in which that's where the character started to see more usage. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the character's bad or anything like that. She's actually exceptionally good. It's just that with this character, she kind of just had to float for a little bit. If it wasn't a P3 team, you probably weren't going to use her all too much. And if it was a P3 team, you probably had other options. So Yukari is one of those units that, hey, she's not really that bad. She's pretty darn good. It's just like there were definitely other options that were just better that kind of kicked her out of the runnings. Now, another thing that I want to talk about with Yukari, for those of you who are probably going to summon on her, is to be very careful, because the character herself, seeing that she is not fully needed here, you technically don't have to summon for the unit themselves unless you just really like the character. On the off chance that you are summoning for the unit, awareness wise, you don't really need any awareness to start this character. She works perfectly fine at A0, and when it comes down to her weapons, if you wanted to at least be thorough, you don't even need her 5-star weapon, because you get more than enough what you need for the attack percentage and obviously the HP regeneration from the 4-star weapon itself, making her exceptionally good just by having the bare minimum, which is an amazing thing for anybody who's trying to invest into maybe Akihiko or hint for the anniversary. So I do think a lot of you guys should probably think about that before going ahead and going hardcore for this character, but still, This is good to see the character themselves. As you can see, the 4-star weapon does kind of like exactly what you need her to do. 5-star weapon being Sarnga is also very helpful itself. It increases attack percentage by 30% while also restoring HP from attacking foes with wind erosion and increasing your healing, as well as it helps out with party damage. So I mean, like, you know, it is a very helpful 5-star weapon, but at the end of the day, you don't truly need it, which is where that kind of ends right there. Now, the next character that I wanted to talk about is more or less going to dive us more into Akihiko. Now, Akihiko is another cool looking character, one of my favorite characters themselves. But before we get into his actual kit, you got to know something else that's also pretty darn cool. Lootbar.com. Now, Lootbar.com was known as Lootbar.gg not long ago, but recently they ended up leveling up pretty much the same service as you guys see on the screen. And I gotta admit, this is one of my favorite sites to use. I usually use it for my main games such as Star Savior, Neverness to Everness, 7 Deadly Sins, and even sometimes my Persona account when I do want to do that as well. And they are insanely worth it. If there is a game you want to play, if there's anything you're looking for, Loot Bar is the one who's going to have it for cheap. Now, luckily inside of my description for a lot of you guys, if you go ahead and use that link, it's going to send you straight over to Persona itself. And they've been doing this for a long time. I've used their services for years, ever since the Genshin Impact days, and they have done me nothing but justice. I've done previously a ton of sponsorships with them. I'm still doing sponsorships with them on 7DS, and they ended up offering me this option for Persona 5 itself. Well, thankfully to you guys here, if you use my link, you're able to, of course, access a ton of discounts for different packs down below here, which is going to be very, very helpful. They're fast, reliable, and trustworthy, and if you don't believe that as well, you can even check out their Trustpilot reviews, which are insanely high compared to any other website themselves. As you can see, they immediately have an excellent rating, and if you go to Trustpilot themselves as well, you will see the rating for yourselves. By going ahead and utilizing Loot Bar itself, not only is it quick, but you're able to gain yourself tons of different savings and tons of codes, as well as points that act like Google Play points themselves that will help you get things even lower on a discount. So if you're anything like me who loves cheap options, such as like getting like the Hawk Pass, Coffee Aids, or any things like that pretty much cheaper, well then this is going to be your website. But now I've talked about this, guys, we're going to go ahead and get back straight to the video. Alright, I had to go ahead and squeeze that on there, you guys. Once again, thank you guys for all the support on Loot Bar all the time here. I wish there was a self top-up option for Loot Bar for P5X itself, but I think there's a lot of logistics and stuff that are problems with that. So once again, anyone who does trust enough to actually go ahead and use the site with me, thank you guys for all the support, and let's get back to the video. Now, the next character that I was saying is going to be my man Akihiko. Now, Akihiko himself is insanely good. He's actually one of the few characters that kind of tilted me when I saw the power creep happen. But he was an AoE electric DPS that is really, really good. He's able to, of course, knock down enemies. He's able to deal a lot of crit damage because he is a crit damage DPSer, hardcore crit damage DPSer, and he's complete at A0 R0, which is freaking one of his main props here. The only problem with him, and they already stated it, is the setup is long. This is one of the few characters that is a 3-turn setup, and that's because the first turn, second turn, you're always doing your 1 and 2. Third turn, you got to punch them to knock them down, and then when you use skill 3, obviously you get the excess damage from that. Because the thing that Akihiko does benefit from the most is if an enemy is downed, he can deal more damage, which is always an insanely good thing. Alongside with the things that he's able to offer, he's also able to boost up his own crit damage by 20%. He of course has that 30% extra damage if foes are knocked, and he's actually a really good character. It's just for this character, he unfortunately had the need of being right before a huge power creep spike, and this was also with the single targeters, this was also with the AoEers, and I want to say after he dropped, characters like Barry, Summer Puppet immediately blew him out of the water. Like, it wasn't fair, it was kind of crazy, and since he already was a little bit since it took him a little bit long for his turn rotation here, it pretty much just solidified him being in that middle ground tier where he was really good, but he never really got a huge chance to shine. Now, I do think this character is probably going to get a buff on global, so I mean, like, he is somewhat worth the go for if you really want to use him. But there are a few things I want to point out for this character. As I said, A0R0, he's perfectly complete. You don't need anything extra. If you did decide to go for something extra, A1 is obviously worth it because of the critical rate by 20% and the extra 3rd-G energy. This character himself is exceptionally greedy with 3rd-G energy itself, so using characters like Yukari with him fits more of that aesthetic. But as you can see right here, your main team that you really want to be focusing with is probably going to be the Blitz team right here. Mainly because Blitz is able to take down the downs even more so. She's also able to amplify pretty much his A2, which is always going to be helpful. And she's just able to amplify in general with down effect enemies. So no matter what's going on with this, Blitz is going to be his best in slot team with a couple other characters who are there. Once again, he can use Yukari. It can be very helpful for the character, but he's one of these units that, in all honesty, it doesn't take a lot for him to actually be complete. He can deal a ton of damage itself, but he is fairly greedy. Now, 3rd-G energy, I would say, is a problem for this character for himself, but since he does have a 3-turn takeaway, getting that 3rd-G energy back is not really going to hurt you as much as you think it is, but it still is going to put him in a damage deficit because, as I did say, most of our AoE DPSs, especially in the future, are more of 2-turners. Usually are going to have a lot higher damage. There's more things at play that Akihiko just can't simply be able to back up from. And that is a downside for the character himself, but he is still freaking cool. We can see what his skills that he does have. He has about, well, all of his skills are going to be AoE no matter what. But obviously we have one skill, increases his crit damage. The other skill here gives him his stacks that eventually he'll be able to use his fighting spirit, being able to knock the enemy. And then the skill 3 being the big boy move here. As long as we have as many fighting stacks here, we increase our skill multiplier. So the character himself is very straightforward. It's just pretty darn cool to actually see everything for him. And also the animations that he has for his kit is insanely cool. It's just kind of sad because for him, there's nothing that, you know, you really want to use this guy for, just with the DPSing. And then for farming wise, as you can see here, he may feel like he's lacking in the farming side. So, you know, for fast clears and stuff like that, for generality usages, the man Akihiko is kind of lower in that aspect, which does kind of suck when you think about it at the end of the day. But both of these characters are going to be dropping in the next few, well, going to be shown tomorrow, and I think dropping on Thursday. I think one of them is with Yukari. But I will say this once again to you guys, keep in mind, these characters are insanely cool as well, but the anniversary is right around the corner. What we've noticed for characters that are dedicated as anniversary characters, much like Anj, is they live for a very long time. Anj just lived ever since the first ANNI all the way to the second ANNI, and I think a lot of you guys should take this as a little bit of a warning. The anniversary character is a cross-server character, so even though you guys may not like the character, you may want to just save your gems. I'll give you that. But with that out of the picture here, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you do want to support the channel, continue watching the videos, share them. You don't always have to do anything with Loot Bar, but Loot Bar does help out a little bit more on the backside. But till then, everybody, stay safe, stay sharp, and peace on out.